At my ex-wife's wedding, I stood up and said, "Before you so I do. There's something you need to know." The room fell silent. But when I exposed her darkest secret, chaos erupted. Her groom looked at her in shock and said, "How could you?" She tried to run, but there was nowhere to hide. The living room was bathed in the soft glow of a dim chandelier casting golden reflections on the polished hardwood floor. A faint aroma of lavender lingered in the air. Her favorite scent-framed photos lined the walls, each one a frozen memory of laughter, love, and a life I thought was real. The fireplace crackled gently, filling the room with warmth. Yet the space between us had never felt colder. She sat across from me on the couch, scrolling through her phone, barely acknowledging my presence. I smiled, forcing normality, as I set down 2 glasses of red wine, our usual end-of-the-day ritual. But when her phone buzzed, she tensed. A flicker of hesitation crossed her face, before she quickly turned the screen away. Something was off. The distance between us wasn't just emotional, it was growing, stretching into an abyss I didn't yet understand. The only settled in my gut like a heavy stone, gnawing at the edges of my sanity. At first, I told myself it was nothing. The way she locked her phone, the sudden late nights at work, the subtle scent of cologne that wasn't mine clinging to her clothes. I ignored the way she pulled away when I touched her, the forced smiles, the way she started dressing just a little nicer on days she claimed to be working late. But doubt is a slow poison. It seeps into your thoughts, erodes your trust, and before you know it, you're drowning in it. One night when she was in the shower, I made a decision. My hands trembled as I reached for her phone. The passcode had changed. My pulse hammered. My wife, the woman I had built a life with, had locked me out. I didn't sleep that night. The next day I left work early, my mind made up. If my instincts were wrong, I'd live with the guilt. But if they were right, I needed to know I followed her. She was supposed to be at the office. Instead, I watched from my car as she pulled into a dimly lit parking lot on the other side of town, stepping into a small, upscale restaurant. My heart pounded as I saw him, my best friend, already waiting for her at a secluded corner table. The way she looked at him, that was what destroyed me. She leaned in close, her fingers brushing against his hand, her lips curving into the kind of smile she used to say, "For me, it wasn't just an affair. It was affection. It was love." I should have stormed in. I should have flipped the table, screamed, demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I watched. I let it sear into my brain, the way she laughed at his jokes, the way he reached for her hand without hesitation. I let it hurt, let it shatter me, because I knew that when the time came, I wouldn't just confront them. I'd destroy them. That night I waited. She came home late, as expected, tiptoeing through the front door like a stranger in our own house. I sat in the darkness of the living room, only the soft glow of the lamp illuminating the bottle of whiskey in my hand. "Good night at work?" I asked, my voice deceptively calm. She jumped, her hand flying to her chest. "Jesus, you scared me." Then, after a pause, she forced a smile. "Yeah, long day." I swirled the amber liquid in my glass. "I saw you today." Silence. Her smile faltered. "What?" I leaned forward, setting the glass down. "I saw you at that restaurant with him." The blood drained from her face. For a second I saw panic. But then something else. A flicker of defiance. "Are you spying on me now?" She snapped, crossing her arms. "That's pathetic." Pathetic. The word sliced through me, but I didn't flinch. I just let out a slow breath. "Studying her? How long?" She scoffed. "Does it matter?" I should have felt anger. Rage. But all I felt was something colder, something lethal. "It matters," I said quietly. She rolled her eyes. 6 months. Maybe more? She said it like it was nothing. Like our years together meant nothing. I clenched my fists with him. That's when she smiled. A cruel, knowing smile. "Yeah, with him." And you know what? He's better than you in every way. Something inside me snapped. I stood slowly towering over her. She took a step back, but I didn't touch her. I just let the silence stretch between us, heavy and suffocating. I'm going to make you regret that, I said, my voice void of emotion. Her smugness wavered. Oh please, she scoffed, but I saw the way her fingers trembled at her sides. You're not going to do anything? You never do. She turned on her heel, heading for the bedroom, dismissing me like I was nothing. That was her first mistake. Because I wasn't nothing. And by the time I was done, she would know it. The wedding was perfect. Golden chandelier bathed the grand ballroom in warm light, casting a glow over the sea of elegantly dressed guests. The air buzzed with laughter and clinking champagne glasses, an atmosphere of celebration and love. The bride, my wife, stood at the altar draped in white, the very picture of innocence. Beside her, my best friend, her new groom, smirked like a man who thought he had one. I sat in the crowd, quiet, unnoticed. My fingers curled around the small, black envelope in my pocket, the weight of its contents pressing against my palm like a loaded gun. The priest cleared his throat. If anyone here has reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever. Hold your peace. The room held its breath. I stood. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. The bride stiffened, her knuckles whitening around the bouquet. The groom's smirk faltered, replaced by something sharper. Unease. I stepped forward, slow and deliberate, every eye in the room locked on me. Before you say I do, there's something you need to know. Silence. Thick. Suffocating. Her voice barely above a whisper. Jack, sit down. I ignored her. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the envelope. I wasn't planning to come today, I said, my voice calm, measured. But then I thought, why should I stay silent? Why should I let you to rewrite history while I sit back and swallow the lies? The crowd buzzed with whispers. I turned to the groom. You ever wonder why she never let you see her phone? Why does she always turn away when you walk into the room? His brow furrowed. What the hell are you talking about? I tossed the envelope onto the altar. Open it. He hesitated, then reached for it. His fingers trembled as he pulled out the stack of glossy photographs. Hora in bed with another man. Not just any man. His best man. Gasps erupted through the crowd. The bride's face was drained of color. Jack, you son of a save it. I cut her off. I learned my lesson the hard way. You think betraying me was the end of it? It was just the beginning. The groom's breathing was ragged now, his hand shaking as he flipped through the damning images. His best man, his supposed friend, stared at the ground, sweat glistening at his temples. You, the groom turned on her, his voice a snarl. You lying whore. The bride recoiled. It's not what it looks like. A cruel laugh escaped me. Really? Because I thought that's exactly what it looks like. The guests whispered among themselves, the perfect wedding now, a spectacle of scandal. Then, in a single violent motion, the groom swung. The best man barely had time to react before a fist connected with his jaw, sending him sprawling into the flower arrangements. A woman screamed. The room erupted into chaos. The bride turned on me, her eyes blazing with fury. You ruined me. She spat, stepping closer, her hands balled into fists. I tilted my head, unfazed. No, darling. You ruined yourself. Tears burned in her eyes, but there was no sympathy left in me. You thought you won, I said, lowering my voice so only she could hear. But you forgot one thing. She swallowed hard. What? I leaned in, just enough for her to feel my breath against her skin. I don't lose. And with that, I turned, walking away as the perfect wedding collapsed into chaos behind me. Revenge wasn't an impulse. It was a process. A slow, methodical dismantling of the life they stole from me. After that night, the night she admitted to everything, the night she laughed in my face, I knew I couldn't let it slide. But I wasn't going to lash out blindly. No, that was too easy. I wanted them to feel it. To watch as everything they built together crumbled, brick by brick. I spent months preparing. Gathering evidence. Watching. Waiting. I started with the groom, my ex-best friend. He had everything. A promising career, a sterling reputation, a future set in stone. I made sure it all turned to ash. I dug into his past, found every dirty secret he thought was buried. He had been embezzling money from his firm for years, funneling small amounts into a private account under his cousin's name. Not enough to raise immediate suspicion, but enough that when the numbers didn't add up, someone would start asking questions. All it took was one anonymous email to his boss. The audit came fast, and so did the consequences. Within weeks, his name was dragged through the mud. His accounts frozen. His future gone. Then I went further. He had been securing a massive real estate deal, one that would have made him millions. I reached out to his competitors, leaking confidential details about his upcoming projects. Within days, his contracts were pulled, investors backed out, and the deal collapsed. He had nothing left. And that was just the beginning. My ex-wife, now prided herself on her social image. She loved attention, fast, and admiration. She was the perfect the doting soon-to-be wife who posted everything online. I made sure the truth was just as public. I sent the photos to a few select people. Her friends. Her family. Every single wedding guest, who had once believed in her fairy tale. The moment the images spread, she became a joke. A walking scandal. And then I went for the kill. She had built her career in PR, handling high-profile clients, maintaining their images. It only took one well-placed rumor to plant doubt. A few whispers, that she had leaked private information before. That she couldn't be trusted. That she was reckless, messy, disloyal. Clients dropped her. Her boss fired her. Her world fell apart. I didn't forget him, the best man, the one she had been sneaking around with behind both our backs. He had skeletons too. A gambling problem? Debt piling up from bad bets and reckless spending. I reached out to the people he owed money to. Let them know exactly where to find him. They did. It wasn't pretty. I could have left it at that. They were already unraveling, their perfect world reduced to rubble. But I wanted one final blow. One moment they'd never forget. The wedding was my masterpiece. I let them believe they had one, that despite everything, they would get their happy ending. I let them stand at the altar, surrounded by people who still believed in their love. And then I stood up. I let the truth spill out in front of everyone. The betrayal. The lies. The third man in her life. I watched as my ex-best friend's face twisted in rage. As my ex-wife's perfect little world shattered in an instant. As the best man took a punch to the jaw. It was chaos. Beautiful, perfect chaos. I walked out of that wedding knowing one thing. I had won. The wedding was ruined. Their lives shattered in me. I walked away with a smile. My ex-best friend was a disgraced fraud, jobless and drowning in legal trouble. My ex-wife lost everything, her career, her reputation, even her so-called friends who wanted nothing to do with her after the scandal. The best man. Last I heard he skipped town, running from the debts and the people who came to collect. I didn't need to lay another finger on them. They destroyed themselves. All I did was hold up the mirror. Standing on the balcony of my new apartment, a glass of whiskey in hand, I looked out at the city and exhaled. Some betrayals break you. But if you're patient, if you plan, they make you something else entirely. Stronger. Smarter. Untouched. And most importantly, they make you the one who gets the last laugh. Like this story. Justice was served, but was it enough? Comment your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intense tales of betrayal and revenge.